Hi, this is Jana London, founder of the Natural Women's Council. I just had the opportunity to give my views on the Niall Boylan show on being compelled to use pronouns in the workplace, which is starting with the civil servants in Ireland and the UK. The groups that I work with are collectively putting together a statement on this. The Lawyers for Justice Ireland, Natural Women's Council, Irish Education Alliance, and Parents' Rights Alliance. We strongly oppose the use of pronouns in the workplace, in the school, or mandating it in any aspect of society. I'll just quote some information on the employment law that I talked about today on the show. So my opinion on this is that this is policy of the public sector and it's not law. If I was an employee, luckily I'm self-employed, so I don't have to use pronouns at all. But if I was an employee, I would be demanding a copy of this written policy by requiring the employer to cite the legislative basis on which they are relying on to impose this onto employees. In the Employment Equality Act of 1998 to 2015, which prohibits discrimination in the employment area, there are 9 grounds for protected characteristics. One is gender, but it does not specify under 6.1 that it includes gender identity, which is not a fact. It is not biology. It is an ideology. There is no precedent to show that an employee is statutorily obliged to use a person's preferred pronouns. This is not defined as discrimination. For the public sector to say that employees are compelled, this is policy, not law. A person is entitled to have, like myself, gender critical beliefs, and that this is established in employment tribunal cases in the UK. You can look up the case of Meyer Forrester. She was one of these cases who did not want to use the pronoun game, and she won the case. In Ireland, it's important to note that religious beliefs are protected as well. So it could go against somebody's religious beliefs to affirm gender dysphoria, to play into this religion of its own self, the woke religion. That goes against many people's religion and faith. So we are asking people to comply with an ideology, and if they don't, they may be reprimanded. Pronouns confirm gender dysphoria, which is a condition. In the US, it's known as a psychiatric condition. I believe in Ireland, it's a condition, but it does require treatment. It is a condition, and it is in someone's mind. This sets a precedent for any other arbitrary ideology to come along. And this blurring of reality is getting us closer and closer to a totalitarian state. It's being pushed into the civil service, workplaces, schools. Pronouns are also the first step to someone socially transitioning before somebody takes irreversible puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, or has surgery. So the state is trying to relentlessly insert itself in every aspect of our lives, in schools, between parents and children. We don't need our language or thoughts to be policed on a day-to-day basis. We don't need our interactions to be mandated, which is what these pronouns do. With any ideology, including the use of pronouns, there is no risk assessment. So how do we undo the damage once it's done? Who's accountable? Who takes the blame when all of this goes wrong? If you affirm someone's gender dysphoria by using a pronoun, particularly with young people in schools, and we've seen this happen, and we've seen teachers who refuse to play the pronoun game, and we have seen a teacher in Ireland who is a lone protester on this, and he's in jail. Yes, Enoch Burke went to jail for breaking a court order, but the whole thing started because he didn't want to use the pronouns. It went against his faith. It went against the ethos of the school. And he stood his ground, as we all should, and he's in prison. So we need to say enough is enough. Where is this coming from? I asked a question on Niall Boylan today is, are there men and women up and down the country, from Donegal to Kerry to Clare to Sligo to Dublin? Are there men and women in the thousands demanding that we use pronouns in the workplace and schools? No. There's a small group of activists via publicly funded NGOs and government political parties who see this ideology as central to their outlook on life, and they're trying to push their ideology onto the vast majority. We cannot let a radical minority with their own beliefs dictate for the majority. We must assert our rights. We must not comply. And if you are an employee working for an employer, ask to see the policy and ask what legislative requirement there is under the law, under your employment rights, that you have to use someone's preferred pronouns. So where is this coming from? This is coming from the United Nations. It's no secret, Varadhan was in New York at the United Nations General Assembly last week. And did you know that Ireland was selected out of 193 countries to co-chair this United Nations meeting, which was a checkpoint on the implementation of Agenda 2030? Varadhan even tweeted a photo of himself in the golden hour at sunset, the orange glow, with two big signs next to him with the World Economic Forum Sustainable Development Goals, also known as SDGs. Now, a year and a half ago, when I talked about the World Economic Forum, I was told I was a conspiracy theorist, or, oh, you're one of those, or WEF, where are you hearing this nonsense? Now, Leo Varadhan is standing next to the World Economic Forum Sustainable Development Goals, and in his tweet, he's quoting Agenda 2030. I'm not a visionary. I simply did my research. I simply read, and everybody needs to start to wake up to where this is coming from. So Ireland was asked out of all of the 193 countries to chair the meeting. So Varadhan and the senior government officials that we pay were in the cockpit at the World Economic Forum meeting, the United Nations meeting. Now, the United Nations, as we got to know it in the past, is not the United Nations now. On June 13th of 2019, the United Nations has handed over its reins of control to the World Economic Forum, Davos. You hear of all these elites flying their private jets to Davos, talking about how we should all stop burning turf, drive electric cars, and stop eating meat. Yeah, those people. So the World Economic Forum is made up of 1,000 of the world's richest, biggest companies. These are tech, finance, pharma, etc. They also are invading the academic system and every other aspect of society. And Ireland is in the cockpit. So the United Nations has undergone really a soft coup, taking over Ireland's democracy. These policies are being pushed from the top down. These are not public opinion asking for these policies. These are not bottom up. These are being pushed from the top down. So I would ask, where do you think this is coming from? Is this coming from the vast majority of people up and down the country? When those politicians knocked on your door asking for your votes, did they talk about this? It doesn't sound familiar to me. So the WEF / United Nations, because they're all one, they are failing. Too many people are now wise to it. Too many people are waking up daily to what's happening. And more people are rising up and saying, no, no more. Enough is enough. Now, when people do come together and rise up and say no, and there were hundreds and hundreds gathered at the Dáil last week, a handful, yes, got a bit aggressive. I think there were some arrests made. I've seen video footage. However, every media channel, every politician has completely mischaracterized the event that happened at the Dáil, mischaracterized the event, mischaracterized the people. And the propaganda machine is continuing to say, look, this is exactly why we need the hate speech bill. This is exactly why we need these anti-terror laws. We need to stop the protests. Don't let the people speak. They mischaracterize the event, and it's been all over the news the last week because do you know what they think? They think by using this event at the Dáil to push through the hate speech bill, they think that all the plebs on the street will say, we'll be silent and compliant now. We'll be silent and compliant because if we speak up or we gather or we say no, it's going to push through that bill. We're going to have to be silent. We're not going to be allowed to protest. No, people need to continue to rise up and speak up. This is being driven from the top down. We need more bottom up, direct action, peaceful action, but don't let the mischaracterization of good, honest people who stood there and spoke and talked about concerns and read speeches and poetry, don't let the mischaracterization of all of those hundreds of good, honest, concerned people in Ireland, don't let that mischaracterization silence you. They want us silenced because they're failing. Have a great day.